Hey, college sports fans, during the second quarter, the Clemson Tigers had the field in Chestnut Hill roasting on an open fire. But let me tell you something, the rest of that game, even though the score was big, 41-10 win for the Tigers, left some things to be desired. And they're kind of subtle. I think if you're watching the game live or if you've done a rewatch, you'll pick up on some of the things that we're going to talk about here. We certainly have picked up on them. Let us know in the comments if you think we're overthinking it or what your take is on everything. I'm Bill Zimmerman. This is the Reign Supreme All-Way Podcast. Here we go, season 4.
Season 4. I'm Daniel Shirley. Bill, look, you and I were talking just now before we started recording, and I don't want to repeat a lot of the things I said last week, but I think this is very similar to last week. 41-10 looks great, but it's more. I think 41-10 is more about Boston College than it is about Clemson. I thought Clemson played better. I thought I think the offense played better. Let me say that. I think there's still some issues on the defense, and we'll get into some of that. I don't want to just say, "Hey, watch last week's episode,"
Right.
and go that route. But I do think they are very similar. But I liked what we saw from the quarterback. I liked
Sure.
what we saw from the receivers. I liked what we saw from the true freshman tackle a lot. But I didn't like a lot of what I saw from the defense. And I get it. I know the stats look great. 10 points is great. The yards against is great. Rushing yards against and all that stuff's great. But before the Sammy Brown strip sack that seemed to, I don't know, wake the defense up or jar Boston College's offense, Boston College was running up and down the field.
Yeah.
So I think that is still very alarming. That's, North Carolina was too for a lot of the first quarter of last week's game. So there's a lot of positives, but I also don't feel like, oh, Clemson has found itself. Like I think some people want to think that that's the case. And look, if you're that person, who am I to criticize somebody for being positive? I'm not.
Sure.
I just can't get there. Now, you do it this week against a really damn good SMU team, or if you do it against Louisville, or you do it against Florida State, or you do it against Duke, or my goodness, you do it against all of them, then okay, you might see Crazy Daniel slink into the background a little bit, but he'll come out. It's almost Halloween, so watch out. He might get you. But I can't get there yet. I just can't. I'm positive about the offense. I loved what I saw from the offense. Cade's got to be more careful and protect himself. The interception was weird. Dabo said the ball may have slipped out of his hands. I don't know what happened there.
Right.
But a lot of positives on the offense, not nearly as many positives on the defense.
Let's start with one of the things. Well, first of all, let me set the tone. Like, yeah, we are going to nitpick some things here because the schedule gets a lot tougher the next 3-4 games, for sure, if you ask me. And look, I know Clemson is currently a 9.5-point favorite over SMU. You and I talked a little bit about we don't see how that's possible, right? Like they opened at 11.5 or 10.5, depending where you looked. ESPN Bet now has them at 9.5. This is not a gambling channel. However, it's kind of a litmus test to what do the sharps see that we don't see? Because what I see right now is a defense that is. I know a chunk play is technically 20 yards, and a lot of those plays that they gave up were 15, 17, 12 yards, whether they were runs, whether they were passes. That's got to get locked down because we saw in the second half of that ACC championship game last year just how good Kevin Jennings is. Now, fortunately, we saw I think, the best version of Cade Klubnik that we have ever seen. I think that guy really stood in the pocket, took his time, looked like his clock was right for that game. He was looking around for different receivers. TJ Moore finally had the kind of game that we've been waiting to see from him. Klubnik delivered the ball on time, but also was really looking for more and finding him, looking for more options, single O, more options. He delivered the ball to 10 different guys, including all three tight ends. I know Vizina had one reception, so someone's responsible for one of those somewhere, but uh, Antonio Williams, Bryant Wesco certainly led the way, but when you have five guys with multiple receptions and 10 guys catching the ball overall, that is how you want to see this offense run. That is how you make those route trees of Garrett Riley's really effective. And then you also saw some nice form like Bryant Wesco going up for that 50-50 ball in the end zone, setting his
Yep.
shoulders in place to shield the defender away to where only Wesco could catch the ball. Just really, really masterful play from him right there. He and Williams, very energetic. We'll get into the defense in a little bit. I think also Adam Randall was a more effective runner, even though he didn't have as many yards as Keith Adams Jr. did in mop up time. But I think they used Randall very effectively, and they also used him out of the backfield, so running routes. So really doing a nice job of keeping things off balance, I think, for the BC defense. That's also going to be a key against SMU. I don't know enough about SMU right now, I'll admit, to say, oh, the defensive line, ABC, or the secondary XYZ. If you go into that game with Cade Klubnik in that mindset and some nice blocking up front, you can see this offense operate at a high level like it did once again.
Yeah, I thought Cade has played better games. But the process,
Yeah.
his process
Good,
Saturday,
good way to put it. Yeah.
stand in the pocket, right? Look down the field. Now, again, that goes back to the group up front and how effective is Boston College's pass rush? You know, is that all this is, Bill? And that's my concern, right? That's why I'm almost there,
Yeah.
but we've seen this from this quarterback before. You put up some big stats against teams at that second and third tier that you don't put up against those top tier teams. So I think that's why I'm a little hesitant about the offense. Is we've seen Cade do this. There's some stat padding in Cade's career, and I mean, we're not going to punch Cade today because we've been harsh on him, and he's deserved it this year because he
Yeah.
played really really well.
Right.
But is that last year's games where they won? Okay, well now they've got some tough ones coming up. Is he going to revert to LSU Cade or Georgia Tech Cade or last year's Georgia game Cade
Or
or
Troy Cade.
Troy Cade or South Carolina Cade? Heck, Troy's probably better than both of these teams the last 2 weeks.
Maybe. Be sure to subscribe at youtube.com/Clemson Kickoff. It's free. It's the best place to catch all our episodes, and it's the best place for you to comment with your reactions.
That's my reservation about the offense. Is yeah, they look good, but North Carolina is a train wreck, and I don't know that Boston College is much better.
Yeah.
Those are probably the two worst teams in the ACC that they played the last 2 weeks. And they did exactly offensively what they should have. That's great. Can you do it this week against SMU or do it against Duke or do it against Florida State or Louisville?
Yeah.
I mean, they've got some tough games coming up.
Yep.
And especially with what we've seen from this team this year. If they were what we thought they were going to be at the start of the season, or a lot of people, not just the two of us, a lot of
Right.
people, although I was still a little hesitant to be they're going to win the ACC. I thought they should be favored, but I was still, not all the way on board.
Right.
But if they were that team, I would say, hey, they're going to win these games. But just because again, that's why I can't go. They've fixed everything because they certainly have not.
Well, and I think the defense, which you've been unhappy with for several seasons now, much like I've been
Yes.
unhappy with the offensive line and the offense really since the 2020 season, to be quite honest. I think you've been pretty upset with that defense, and we saw enough things going wrong. Look, the big plays are there, and Tom Allen wants those big plays to drive this defense. And as you mentioned, it was that one big play from Sammy Brown knocking the ball loose. TJ Parker falls on it. Hello, TJ Parker. Nice to see you. Uh,
Yes,
you know,
yes.
but there were so many runs. The announcer acted like it was two guys. Sometimes he was Turbo, and sometimes he was Richards. I wished he'd have picked a name, but it was Turbo Richards, one guy doing that damage. Several nice runs that weren't just 2, 3, 4 yards in a cloud of dust, but he got through the line, got into the second level, as some people like to say in jargon, and but then you also saw several times where receivers were just running wide open in those seams in that zone, and it's kind of a mix of, let's focus on one half of the mix first, which is giving so much space, playing, I don't want to say soft like mentality soft, like physically soft, but soft as far as spacing and not getting up on a guy. And I know you've got some a really nice observation that you mentioned that I want you to get to about this, but they've got to find a solution where if they're going to play zone in that secondary, it can't be that geometrically soft.
Well, I think Bill, I'm zone man, whatever. You can't cover grass. Covering grass doesn't work.
There you go.
And if you're sitting there and you and I are playing zone defense and we're 10 yards apart and there's somebody in the middle of us and we're just saying, "Oh, I got to cover my spot." And you're over here, I got to cover my spot, and that guy's wide open between us, then what are we doing?
Yeah.
That can't be the scheme. I mean, that just literally cannot be what they're being coached to do. I think that's players in their own heads a little bit and not being focused. So I think you've got to have some situational awareness too, right? I mean, if I drop back and I'm a safety or linebacker and I'm dropping back and I'm looking and I'm in my spot, is he gonna throw it to me?
Right.
No, he's gonna
Well,
throw it
well,
to the
Klubnik did that for one of the BC
well,
guys at one point.
Cade
One
did,
one
yes.
of his few bad plays in that game. But yeah,
But you have to, head on a swivel, right? Look around a little bit. Hey, I'm supposed to be 8 yards deep and right here. Well, I'm 8 yards deep. There's nobody here. I don't just stand there. I've got to recognize there's a guy 5 yards over here. Let's slide that way a little bit.
right.
And I think there's not enough of that with this defense. And I have a bigger problem. I have a problem with that. I have a bigger problem with the fits with the linebackers on the
Yeah.
run in the run gaps. I just can't believe that, and I don't want to pick on one player, but I can't believe Wade Woodaz's job is to run right into the offensive lineman and let a gap be right to his left or right. That cannot be the scheme. I mean, I've never coached a game of football in my life. I've coached 5-year-old basketball, by the way, and I was damn good. Phil Jackson don't want no part of this. He wants no smoke.
Did you
But
portal
no,
some guys in? Did you portal in some
no.
guys
This
and
was
offer
before
them
the
orange
portal. We were
slices and
old.
Capri Sun?
We were old school, man. We ran the trip. We ran the the box. What the Bulls call it, the box. And so you know it's it. I don't know enough about it, but I do know that can't be considered an effective scheme. Wade Wood has got to get off blocks,
Yeah.
and the other linebackers too, and that's been a huge problem this year.
Yeah, and
The
I
triangle, that's what it was. The
there you
triangle.
go.
How can I not remember the triangle?
What, Bill Winters, was that his name? Something like that. I can't
Tex
remember.
Winters.
Tex Winters. There you go. Thank you.
Yeah, there you go.
I've combined Bill Withers and Tex Winters somehow into a tremendously vocally talented basketball coach. No, so
Yeah.
look, I agree, and there have been plenty of times you mentioned Wood as I don't think it's just him, but I've seen these guys get over their
No.
skis a little
Right.
bit, and when you're a linebacker, you're supposed to back the lineman, but shooting gaps and getting into the backfield so quickly. Look, you'd better be really certain that you're going to make a tackle and make a play if you're going to do that, because it means you're
Yes.
going to leave a space in the field that is uncovered. You're going to leave an assignment that is open, and either it's going to get dumped off to the running back, somebody's going to bounce outside. If you've shot an inside gap, they're going to cut back inside if you've shot an outside gap. But there have been a lot of times, Woodaz in particular, not just this season, where he's so committed to getting vertical and across the line of scrimmage or to the line of scrimmage either way that somebody's got very easy time getting around. And taken advantage of that over aggressiveness. So we've talked a little bit before about threading that needle, and maybe the defense is doing a better job of threading that needle in certain ways when you hold a team to 10 points. Is it that, or is it the level of the opponent? We'll certainly find out with SMU. Like I said, Kevin Jennings, junior this year, sophomore last year, really came on the scene last year, and now he is back for more. He and Rhett Lashley will see the tape and understand what to do against this Clemson defense. If they figured it out at halftime last year, they're going to be able to do it with a week of game planning this year, you would have to think. And then again, you just need Tom Allen. I love Tom Allen being on the sidelines, by the way. I'm no expert whether he should be in the box, whether he should be on the sidelines. Peter Woods, defensive lineman of the week in the ACC this past week for what he did in the BC game. He loves Tom Allen being on the sidelines, talked about that in one of the post game interviews. So that's fine, and find someone else to man the coaching box and be the eye in the sky. If that's going to work out better, that's great. But it there is more improvement to be done. And when you look at SMU, you look at Duke, put up 45 points on Boston College as well. I know transitive is not necessarily a perfect indicator, but it's one measurement of what we can expect going in. FSU, Castellanos has been tremendous, reuniting with Gus Malzahn, even though he had transferred away from Malzahn when he left UCF to go to BC years ago. They are reunited, and it seems to be working pretty well, even though they lost to Pitt, which makes me very happy. It's not often I like Pat Narduzzi, but that's a matchup where I'll do it. And then Louisville. I mean, Jeff Brom. Oh my goodness, he will certainly figure things out. He did last
He
year.
did last year. Yeah,
You
right.
know,
Jinx. Yeah.
yeah, and the offense was inexplicably bad. Like I felt like the defense against Louisville last year was like Louisville's really good. They certainly were with Shuck. So we'll see what Miller Moss is going to be able to do if he can do the same thing. I felt like last year the defense wasn't to blame. The offense mysteriously disappeared for three and a half quarters of that football game, and it was out of hand by the time they got some mop up points. So four tough games right in a row. I guess the other silver lining I want to talk about is that Clemson won back-to-back road games here, which is not an easy thing to do. Even, sometimes that'll make a much lesser opponent kind of rise up and play a little better. You don't play quite as well. You make the nice road trip to Chestnut Hill, which is a very quiet stadium, not a college football town necessarily. You play well there. So there are some more things that again don't show up in the box score that you have to be proud of, and we will find out what they can do this week at home against SMU.
Yeah, look, again, lots of positives, still a lot to fix, but a tough stretch coming up.
Yeah.
And I like what I've seen from the coaching staff. I like the adjustments that I've seen. I like the offense being way more imaginative the
Yes.
last 2 weeks. Let's see more of that. Um, but we've got to see some huge improvements from this defense to get ready for this stretch coming up.
If there's one thing going in at SMU that jumps out at you that you think can be done better, and you would hope most of all the things that need to be fixed, the one thing you'd want to see against SMU, what would that be?
Well, I think you got to keep Jennings from beating you with his legs, and that means people have to stay in
Mhm.
their lane, and they have to hit the right they have to hit the right fits. They have to do their job. Offensively, I want to see them showcase Williams and Wesco. That's what I want to see.
Yeah, and they certainly did that. One had 7 catches, the other had 5. Both looked really, really talented. Williams appears to be super healthy. That's a big plus for this team. But that group is deep, and so the fact that they have so much talent around them enables those two to kind of shine. I want to see another week of Klubnik with a great game clock in his head, right? And just allowing things to happen and not trying to get too far out of position. He stayed in the pocket, stepped up in the pocket sometimes. Again, can the offensive line do that against SMU the way they did the last 2 weeks? We'll find out what that level of competition is. Defensively, I'm with you. Guys have to stay on assignment, but maybe be a little more willing to be aggressive within that assignment. Like, don't freelance, don't give up on what you're supposed to be doing, but find a guy, hat on a hat, as you would say about the offensive line, right? And I think that's what guys need to be a little more capable and ready to do. Play forward, don't let the play come to you. uh, dictate, but without getting, like I said, out of control about it. So we will see what they can do. And then there's a bye week, so we might be working on some. We'll try to get creative too. We're challenging the offense to get creative, so we'll try to get creative too with something for the bye week as well. And can't wait to see where this is going to go. This season is just so wide open. So
It's
who knows?
wild. It's
Yeah,
wild. Yeah.
and in a year, it's yeah, there's disappointment because it was a year with high expectations, a lot of guys coming back, but here we are. Check with us every week because this season you just never know what's going to happen from one quarter to the next, one game to the next, and we'll certainly have it all for you. And gosh, soon we're going to have some basketball out there. Oh,
Basketball.
yeah. So one other thing, basketball gets a big commitment from a big man, and Dabo, not to be outdone, wanted to have, I guess, the best big man on campus still, the jumbo package. It looks like it's really kind of
I love
refined
it.
now. And again, it's
Yeah.
Boston College, but I think having offensive linemen as lead blockers, you saw Walker Parks with a nice pancake block, basically. Braden Jacobs with just using his speed and size, and then Woods gets through for the touchdown. Is this the best jumbo package we've seen, and or
Oh,
is Christian Wilkins ball carrier still the best version of that?
the Christian Wilkins diving into the end zone against South Carolina, I think is peak. And when he
Yeah,
did the Heisman pose and got the penalty, I think that's peak, right?
yeah.
So they've got some work to do to get to that point.
I
But I
love
do like it. Peter Woods, when they've done it with him, it has worked.
Yeah. Yeah. And I loved that pitch play to Wilkins going wide.
Yes,
That to me really showcased his athleticism. So
no doubt.
yeah. So couldn't let that go unmentioned as well. Congratulations to Peter Woods. I think what was the ACC thing? It was either the first guy with to be part of a sack and score a touchdown or part of a tackle for loss and score a touchdown in conference history. So that was a fun little one.
Wow.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
there
I
you
have to go
go.
back and check the release on that. I hope I got it right. I'll be in the comments with a self-correction if I got that wrong, and you should jump in the comments, let us know what you think as well. I know you got to run, Daniel. So until our next episode, I'm Bill Zimmerman.
I'm Daniel Shirley. Go Tigers.